dá saudade de tudo, né? Acho que, principalmente das amizades que a gente faz e depois acaba se distanciando, que às vezes a gente convive mais com os companheiros de clube que com a própria família. Acho que sente falta de tudo, dos treinos, dos jogos, né, da resenha com os companheiros. Acho que tudo isso aí a gente sente muita falta.
Ronaldinho misses football, but football misses Ronaldinho too. For him, this sport was so much more than a job. Playing football was an outlet and even a means of expression. Recently, Ronnie lost his mother to COVID. And unfortunately, that's far from being the only personal drama he's experienced. But despite the difficult challenges life has thrown his way, he always kept a smile. A smile that had an impact on millions of fans around the world. When Ronaldinho is hurt, the football world feels his pain. Because when football needed him, Ronaldinho gave his all. Our story begins on March 21st, 1980 in a favela in Porto Alegre. Ronaldo de Assis Moreira was born surrounded by drugs and gangs. He grew up in a tight-knit family with his brother Roberto and his sister Daisy. Affected by poverty, they live in a wooden house. But João and Donna did everything so their kids weren't left wanting. His dad even had 2 jobs. In the week, he was a welder, and on the weekend, he oversaw the parking lot at Grêmio Stadium, the local club. A club which held a special place in the family's heart. Quickly, young Ronaldo followed the example set by his brother. He spent his time with a ball at his feet. Night and day, all the time I think about football. I live football. I love spending my time with the ball. There's always one somewhere. Without a ball, I'd be nearly dead. It's my entire life. Thanks to football, the boy was carefree. His love for the ball masked the problems that surrounded him. Seeing this love, his father decided to sign him up for his first club. And that's where Ronaldinho was born. His teammates nicknamed him this because of how small he was. But his size was far from being a disadvantage. He knew he couldn't compete physically. He found the perfect tactics to beat his opponents. Thanks to his liveliness and explosiveness, his size was a major asset. When he wasn't at school, the boy played football. If his friends got tired, Ronnie relied on his dog Bom Bom. He had fun dribbling him to improve his technique. When I was really little, my father made me work on my shooting. Then my dog became my best playmate. He was the most faithful. He never got annoyed being dribbled. As long as he had a ball at his feet, Ronaldinho was happy. But at 8 years old, his life was thrown upside down. When he was coming back from football, he discovered his uncles and family friends in the kitchen. First, he thought it was for his older brother's 18th birthday. Then he saw his mom crying. Roberto took his younger brother into the bathroom and broke the terrible news. There was an accident. Dad is gone. He died. Ronnie didn't understand. For him, his hero was immortal. This blow would have floored many people, but not Ronaldinho. The kid was bruised, but not broken. While he no longer had his father, he could count on his older brother who took him under his wing. At that moment, Roberto had just signed his first pro contract with Grêmio, and Ronnie drew motivation from his success. He could also count on his smile, which never left his face despite these difficulties, and even on the strength of character his father passed on to him before he died. But Ronaldinho could count on one last thing that was perhaps the most important: football. When he was 13, he was noticed for his touch of madness and his smile. He was a local celebrity, but not everyone liked his style. For him, football was only a game. His dribbles, his skirmishes, he was the spitting image of his father. A father who had always encouraged him to play his own way, and who had always taught him to be himself. So Ronnie wasn't going to change for anything in the world. I like to invent, to surprise. It's an obsession, like always having a ball at my side. I like to do unexpected things, to not know what will happen in the next 3 seconds. Football is that. It's instinct, and that's how I'll continue to play. This desire for freedom led to many comments. Yet it was this freedom that allowed him to flourish. Ronnie didn't care one bit about what people thought of him. When he faced criticism, he answered on the pitch. All he needed was a ball to express himself. But in July 1994, Brazil defeated Italy in the World Cup final. Ronaldinho realized that football was so much more than a simple game. During the crazy celebration, it's going to become clear to you what you want to do for the rest of your life. You're going to realize what football means to Brazilians. Most importantly, you will see the happiness that football can bring to regular people. It's easy to imagine what this young kid was thinking at that moment. A moment that led to the birth of the huge competitor sleeping within him. From then on, Ronaldinho wanted to prove that he could succeed. When he was 18, he took off at Grêmio, where he was still playing. 3 years later, he set off to Paris Saint-Germain. He discovered European football, and Europe discovered a footballing genius. I learned everything in Paris. I discovered really competitive football, which it was very difficult to play and establish yourself in. I think that a player that can stand out in France can play in any championship. In no time, Ronnie became a favorite at Parc des Princes. His fun-loving character and his technique impressed in France. In 2002, Ronaldinho achieved one of his childhood dreams. He became world champion. Ronaldinho was now a national hero. Revenge for someone who used to live in poverty, under constant judgment. All that while never losing his smile. Revenge that João must have enjoyed from the heavens, because he had predicted everything his son would achieve in previous years. My ambition comes from what I experienced in my childhood. My father's death after everything that he taught me. He told his friends, "You'll see, one day, he'll be a world champion." At FC Barcelona, Ronnie became a magician. You pay to see an artist put on a show. That's also why this player loved doing what he did.
People will forget awards, but what's imprinted in their minds are my skills and my plays. They'll remember those forever.
In 2005, Ronaldo de Assis Moreira was at the peak of his art. He won the Ballon d'Or. After this success, when he'd seemingly come full circle, the kid from Porto Alegre returned home. His career finished with highs and lows. Ronaldinho didn't have a journey worthy of his talent, but despite all this, he never lost his smile. Recently, another test came his way. Donna, his mother, died after getting COVID, a very important figure in his life. She was also who he turned to when things didn't go right. For him, she was an inspiration for her strength and her joy. A loving mother who, like him, was always smiling. A smile Ronnie shared on social media to pay tribute to her. Her death could have crushed the Brazilian, but it will only make him stronger. Because after all, he reminded us that death is just a passage to another place. Ronaldinho is to football what Leonardo da Vinci is to painting. They left their mark on history, intentionally or not. Both jolly and elegant, spectacular and striking, football fans will never forget the player Ronaldinho was. A player that loved living his passion. When Ronnie lost his mother, the entire world supported him, as if everyone was indebted to the happiness he'd produced. Because despite his infectious smile, Ronaldinho is still a human being that has endured painful tests. Ronaldinho was always guided by his father throughout his career. This man who passed on such an overwhelming passion. This man who pushed his son to have his own style, to play with pleasure, for pleasure. Ronnie always gave without ever asking for anything in return. Today, it only makes sense to pay him back. Because Ronaldinho has shown us that passion is so much more important than anything else. That thanks to never-ending love, anything is possible. But also, despite challenges, you should never give up. And maybe, if you smile at life, it will smile back at you.